right, so I'm here at the SCBCS office with my good friend Latia Curtis.
Hi.
She is a professional makeup artist. I actually met her in college at Converse when we went there many years ago. And she chose to go down the makeup artist pathway. And she's going to talk about how she got into it because many students understand the cosmetology route, and Latia kind of got into another way. So, Latia, how did you end up a makeup artist?
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So I am a full-time makeup artist and what we call session stylist. Session styling means that I don't work in a salon. I work exclusively on location. So I go to people where they need my services. Sometimes that's private clients. You guys might be on Instagram and TikTok and you see a lot of makeup artists that deal with like single clients in their home or in a studio. I do something a little bit more advanced than that. I go on location for film and commercial and print advertising sets. So my realm of specialty as a makeup artist and a hairstylist is in film and television and commercial production. And so I'm gonna take you guys on a quick little tour around my kit. So one of the things people don't realize about being a makeup artist and hairstylist is that we have to pay for all of our own supplies and materials. That might be the case if you're working in a salon as well. If you go in as a booth renter, you're responsible for paying for your own curling irons, your own tools, your own hairstyling products, anything that you're going to use there. This is kind of similar. I always tell people when you're working as a professional hair and makeup artist, if you want to make this a sustainable career where you're actually making money and you're able to take care of your family and pay your bills and stuff, you really want to think about yourself as a business. So when you talk about 100% of the time that I spend in my career, a good 40% of that is constantly thinking about artistry, elevating my skills, practicing, doing research in museums, print work, advertising, past fashion magazines. I read a lot of history books. I was a history minor in college. But the other half of that, or the other 60%, is learning how to run a business. And this is going to be applicable if you are working in a salon, if you're working at a barbershop, if you decide you want to do your own suite at like a solo salon suite situation, or if you want to even just like work on it as a commission-based stylist in a salon, you're still going to have to pay for a lot of your own continued education, your training, your materials, your special tools, your shears, and all of that. So when we look at all of my stuff and I talk about kind of like what I do for my kit and stuff, it seems really involved and intense because it kind of is, but just know if you go the route of working in a salon or a barbershop, you're gonna be needing to do a lot of the same things if you wanna keep track of how much money you're actually gonna be making. I have this saying when I'm mentoring other younger makeup artists, do you wanna make money? Or do you want to take money? Taking money is just when you're taking whatever money people throw at you for something. Making money, though, is you're thinking about how much is it going to cost for me to do this job? Everything getting there, your employment insurance, because you need to take care of that for yourself. I have liability insurance if myself or any of my team were to get hurt on a job. I have something for that. Short-term disability insurance. These are my tools, my legs. I need them to work. If I were to break those, I need to have insurance that I pay for monthly. So that if something were to happen, I wouldn't be like financially devastated by that because that happens a lot. And also like how much am I going to profit after I've paid to get there, to do the things, the insurance, the overhead, taxes, everything. How much am I going to actually be walking away with? How much money am I making? That money that you make is going to be your profit or your salary that you pay yourself. So you want to keep those things in mind. If someone's like, hey, you can do my makeup for like $30, it's going to cost me more money to do that job than the money they're actually paying me. So it might be in my best interest, especially, you know, being further along in my career to say, oh, I think I have somebody that might be a better fit for you. I don't really perform those services anymore, which is a really nice way of saying like, no, thank you. That's another thing we'll talk about is relationships. That is a huge, huge component of my job. So we'll talk about the kit really quick. So I am what they call a dual artist, hair and makeup. But when I started, I only wanted to be a makeup artist. Places like New York, LA, the bigger major metro cities, you can be a single artist. They have people that just do makeup, people that just do hair. But being in the Southeast, they like for us to do both. So starting as a makeup artist, I was very much like, I don't want to do hair. But I've been doing hair for 12 years now and I actually really, really love it. And sometimes I get hired exclusively just to do hair on jobs. So this is my makeup kit. And a lot of, I'll say consumers, so people that don't know anything about makeup, but also don't know anything about the industry, consumers will look at this and be like, wow, it's lots of stuff. But I fly a lot for work. I drive a lot for work. And carrying 70, 80, 90 pounds of weight is really going to take a toll on your body because what we do is very physically laborious. So we do this thing called depotting or depanning, where anything that's in a big bottle, I put it in a little bottle and I put a label on it. Labeling is really important because I have different assistants in different parts of the country. So when they're working with me, if I'm in New York or Atlanta or Charleston or Asheville, they need to be able to go into my kit when I say, hey, can you grab me the Ket foundation? They need to be able to go into my kit and know where that is. Also, it keeps me really, really organized. I think being really self-aware is important so that I can say, okay, I'm someone who tends to get really distracted when my things are scattered, when I'm disorganized, and when I'm distracted, I can't think about the creative work that I need to be doing. So putting in the work, for example, I got off of a job yesterday at 5 o'clock in Asheville, came straight home and reorganized my kit because I have this today and a job tomorrow. So I know that if I want to do my best for my clients and if I want my clients to continue to refer me and ask me back, I need to give myself the space and things that I need to do a really good job for them. So one of those things is being really organized and being really clean. I know in the intro, they talked about cosmetology school, getting your cosmetology license. I did not get my cosmetology license, but if I could go back and do it again, I would have 1,000% gone through either the career center or my local technical school to get my cosmetology license. 1,500 hours is easy when you're younger and you're not working full time and you have the space and mental capacity to devote to it. So if you can do that, and this is a field you're interested in, I would say do it now. Even if you're like, oh, I kind of want to do what Latia's doing, but I don't want to work in a salon, still get your cosmetology license or get your barbering license. That's another really great one to have because there's a whole field within this world called male grooming where you are paid really good money, and I get paid to do it all the time. You're literally just doing makeup on guys or masculine presenting people with shorter hair, maybe they have facial hair. So learning how to barber, how to trim back of necks, how to keep people looking fresh and polished anytime they're on a red carpet or they're making a public appearance or they're on film or being interviewed. Having those skills is really important. So barbering is another really good lane to be in, and that field is growing. More and more people are investing, and I think these days men especially feel more comfortable feeling good and looking good about themselves, and so they're spending more money going to barbers. And so again, treating people really well, building a clientele, it all starts with getting those proper licenses. I do have something called a braider's license. So in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, I can braid hair. One of the things that braider's license goes through, though, that I think is really, really important to anybody, sanitation and hygiene. Sanitation and hygiene, they're going to go over in cosmetology school, barbering school, and the braiders, but we talk about it a lot as makeup artists. The cleanliness and care of your kit is so important. This right here, this isn't even my whole kit, but what we see here is probably going to run someone about $20,000. Okay?
This right here?
This right here. That light is about 500. All of these tools, we're talking 30, 40, 50, 60, hundreds here. You know, these eyeshadows, these 6 were $80. These were more. I mean, and then things that they go in, because you can't buy cheap palettes. You got to buy good palettes, because I fly and I drive and it gets dinged around. So everything has to be really great quality. Even the products that you use have to be pretty great quality. That's not saying things from the drugstore are not good. I was on the team for Maybelline when they were a sponsor for New York Fashion Week. So I have lots of Maybelline stuff, and a lot of their things are really great, but you're talking about buying lots of things that are $13.99, 20 colors, $13.99. Like, that's already a lot of money, and you're just talking about lipsticks. So we haven't gone into all the different types of foundations. This is where learning about science is really important. Learning about chemical compatibility is important. Some of these foundations have an oil and wax base. Some of them have a silicone base. You have to really, really, really know ingredients and what they mean. If there is an ingredient that has a silicone in it, but you have an oil on the skin and you put them together, they're not going to be compatible. They're going to pill up, they're going to roll up, and you can't cheat it. You're talking about working in a time of 6K to 8K definition. I joke and say those cameras can see into the future, because they can. Like if I can get onto a monitor, so the screen that we watch on set, and I can count your pores and I can count your eyelashes. If you have product that's not compatible and it's pilling up and creating texture, I can see it. That means you need to go back and fix it, or you need to learn your products a little better. So knowing those things are really, really important. Labeling, product ingredients, all of that, knowing allergy sensitivities, that's where if you decide to go to aesthetic school, that's going to be really helpful. Aesthetics doesn't really cover hair though, so you can do aesthetics, that's like perfectly fine. But again, I wanted to do hair as well, or had to learn how to do hair as well. So getting my braider's license was really helpful in that sense. Talking about like the investments again, brushes are probably some of my biggest investments. And this is probably a tenth of the brushes that I actually own, because tools are really important. Like you can get a tool from Harbor Freight, a drill from Harbor Freight is going to do the same job as a really nice drill from Home Depot or Lowe's, but the experience using them is going to be a little bit different. The nicer tool, the nicer drill is going to last you a longer time. It's going to be able to be more versatile. It's kind of the same thought thinking about tools. You can get e.l.f. brushes. I have wonderful e.l.f. brushes. I started my career on e.l.f. brushes. 18 years in, I still have some e.l.f. brushes from way back in the day. But there are also other brushes that are like a bigger investment, that are going to be a little bit more of an investment, but again, they just make the job that much more fun. So this is a good example. This is a brush company that I freelance with sometimes called Smith Brushes. And this is like Chinese ash wood that's antimicrobial. They make the bottom so you can dip it into cream products, 17-step process, copper ferrule, and it's a really big thing. And so it reflects in the cost.
Question.
Sure.
When you say you freelance for that company, can you explain what that means?
Oh, so that's actually a really another good route you can take in the field of, I'll just say cosmetology, beauty, whatever. Freelancing for brands is a really, really, really great way to, number one, get paid. Number two, get product. A lot of times when you freelance for these makeup or makeup tool brands, or if you go into cosmetology, haircutting, barbering, you freelance for like a company that sells shears, or you want to become like an educator for a specific hair care or beauty brand. That's where we start talking about freelancing. So the brands will find you and say, hey, you're a really good public speaker. You're obviously passionate about product and knowledge, and you're passionate about educating people. Can we pay you to come to New York, Chicago, LA, Miami, and like work at this trade show and talk to everyone about these brushes? And I really love that. That's like a nice break for me, because I get to, a lot of this work I do by myself or just with an assistant, but I get to really be like immersed. It's makeup artists from all over the world come to shop at these trade shows. So I get to meet a bunch of people in my community, make new friends, build a bigger, stronger community. And that's kind of a nice segue into like how you get jobs in this field, because there is no advertising. Like I have an Instagram, I have a website, now I have an agent that helps me with jobs like out in Chicago and LA, but there's no advertising. You won't see my name in a magazine like Hire Latia. You won't see me on a billboard. This industry is very much rooted in relationships. Being nice to people, being kind to people. Because people are like, Latia, there's so many makeup artists and hairstylists in New York. Why did they ask you to come up? I ask them that too, because I'm nice to people. That's the first thing. You be nice to people, kind to people. I have a saying, you honor the humanity of every person that sits in your chair. It doesn't matter if you're working in a salon, you're working in a barbershop, or you're doing what I do for a living, because I work with all sorts of different types of people. I do pharmaceutical gigs where the person we're interviewing has zero experience being on TV, they have zero experience speaking on camera, and he's talking about, a really horrible addiction he might have. You have to be kind. You have to have space for them, because it's so important for him to tell his story, and he can only do that if he feels safe. He can only be authentic and real if he feels safe, if that person feels comfortable with you. You're not going to feel comfortable. They're not going to be able to do that. And you're like dishonoring their humanity by being unkind to them, by being judgmental. And then, I had President Joe Biden in my chair. So you have to be able to kind of still be yourself, be kind, but there's an extra level of formality that comes with dealing with state officials and the President of the United States. That's like really intense. So that's like a really, really big part of like how I'm able to do what I do with the capacity of being based in Greenville, South Carolina, growing up in the projects of Spartanburg, South Carolina, being a foster kid, being at this level comes from like really just honoring every single person and recognizing their humanity when they sit with me. That speaks volumes, not only to the person in the chair. I'm probably never going to see some of these people again, but it speaks volumes to the clients that hire me, to the clients that say, we have other makeup artists across the country, but we're going to call Latia and we're going to try to bring her out, fly her out whenever possible, because she's kind to people. And that makes such a huge difference in how the talent performs, but also we're working together for 12 hours a day for like 3 or 4 days a week. We're eating lunch together. And like, you don't want to spend that kind of time with people that aren't nice.
So are there other makeup artists that may be better at makeup but not so nice that don't get jobs?
No comments. No comments. I do hear that.
Okay.
And here's the thing, and it's really scary too. I always advise people to like be the best, most authentic version of yourself. Don't worry about going into a place and changing who you are, changing your value system and all of that. But be real, because there are people who I would argue have been in the industry longer than I have, who like, you might need them to make a prosthetic or do special effects. That's not my area of expertise. That's not my specialty. So obviously that person would be more suited for the job. But when people hire me, they're hiring Latia, which can also mean if people reject me, they're rejecting Latia. And that can be really, really scary. But you really just have to lean into like, okay, what can I do to be better than I was last time I was here? Whether that's skill-wise, artistry-wise, communication-wise, asking the right questions, doing this thing we call ear hustling, where you might see a bunch of producers and the people making decisions talking somewhere, and they're not talking to me, but they're talking about the project. I have to do this thing where I just kind of like stand there and I just like, I ear hustle, I listen.
It's not eavesdropping.
It's not eavesdropping, it's ear hustling. I'm at work. And like listening to see, okay, what can I get ready? What kind of changes can I like anticipate that they're gonna make so I can just be ready to go? Because that's another thing, timeliness is really important. And again, being self-aware, I have ADHD, I struggle with it every day. Being on time is something that I struggle with all the time. So I have to do things to trick myself, which makes me a better Latia, being places on time. So I have a timer for myself. If each person has 45 minutes in the chair, then I put the timer to 45 minutes. It's just a nice little visual aid to keep me on track. I don't keep this in view of like any clients or anything because I never want them to feel like they're being rushed. It's a visual aid for me. But that kind of self-awareness, knowing like, okay, what are the things that I struggle with? And then what are the things I can do or the tools that I can implement and facilitate to help me kind of like work around those things. You're within this, you're something called a solopreneur. So I don't have a boss. I am my boss. You could say that the client is my boss. I think of them more like collaborators. But I have to hold myself accountable. So if I'm late to a client, that's on me. I can't blame that on anybody else. But also, no one's going to write me up for it. No one's going to fire me. But I'm going to leave a really bad taste in that client's mouth. We just talked about honoring the humanity in people. Well, if someone's coming to me for like, I'm doing a really nice wedding and they're really nervous and they're very emotionally fragile on such a very big day, showing up 30 minutes late isn't going to make them feel good. It's not going to make them feel confident in you. And it's not going to make them feel like you care about their experience. So if that means I have to trick myself to putting things an hour or 30 minutes earlier in my calendar, so I'm places early instead of late, that's what I do. So that's a little bit.
I had a question.
Sure.
So you did not get the cosmetology license. What point did you realize I really want to be a makeup artist? And it started working for you?
So I actually always wanted to be a makeup artist, even as a teenager. I trained a little bit in New York because I thought I was going to be an actor. Jewel and I met when we were both in school, in college, for music. And I thought that was what I wanted to do. I thought that if I was going to be a makeup artist, I was going to work at the Dillard's counter and sell Estee Lauder. And I just didn't see myself doing that. So I just said, okay, maybe it's not for me, and then went another route. But I got a job working in retail first. I mean, ironically enough, I said I didn't want to work retail, but then I ended up there. And I'm actually really grateful for the time that I spent there. Occasionally, like brands, Armani Beauty, Chantecaille, they'll say, hey, we're having a holiday event. Can you be our featured artist? And so they'll pay me money to come out and just make the ladies feel good and do pretty makeup and help sell product. And then I also get to go home with like tons of new product. One of the things, like when you get your kit together and you find the products that work for you, it can be really easy to like fall into ruts. And so when new things come out, new technology comes out, it's really easy just to kind of like laser focus and not learn. So freelancing and working retail is a really, really wonderful way to gain more product knowledge. Again, building that community. I meet other freelancers, other makeup artists. There's some people that work retail in makeup and have been doing it for years and they love it there because it's a consistent paycheck. You get benefits when you're working for full time for like a Belk or a MAC Cosmetics or something like that. You get ongoing training, product training. That's really great. I would not change that experience for the world. I used to manage Benefit Cosmetics before they were in Ulta's and Sephora's, and they gave me some of the most incredible training on management, on working with people that I've ever had. And people, again, comment, you're so nice, but you're also very direct, but you're also very like honest and transparent. People always know what you mean when you say. And that's because of retail training that I got. So I don't want to discount that route of working retail. Like I said, this kit's really expensive. The money's got to come from somewhere. But if you're getting what they call gratis through these brands, where I think it's quarterly, the brands you work for will let you pick out. Back in my day, in 2008, it was like up to $400 worth of product every quarter.
Every quarter you got $800 of product.
Yeah, every quarter I would get $400. I would get to pick $400 of product. You go on the website, you pick it out, they give you a code, you get it.
At Dillard's?
I was working at Belk at the time through Benefit. So the product would come from Benefit Cosmetics. That was how I built my kit in the beginning.
Nice.
Yeah, working retail, because when they give you all that gratis, instead of using it on me, I would just put it to the side. So when I said, I want to do this, I want to just try it. I had a good professional looking kit ready to go. You know, it wasn't my personal stuff. It was clean, brand new out of the box. And so it was client facing ready. So working retail, if you want to be a makeup artist, is a really, really, really great way to get started. And building relationships with those brands. Those brands are how they find their featured artists. It's how they find their account executives and their counter managers and their business managers and the people all the way at the top that eventually will make decisions about what products are going to be released. Like there's a whole world in retail cosmetics that, again, if I'd known at the time that was a path, I probably could have pursued that one.
Right.
Honestly, yeah.
So how did you start stepping out of retail into being your own independent solopreneur?
Yeah, so it wasn't a complete switch. It was a transition. And that's another thing I love to when I'm mentoring other makeup artists. You never want to feel beholden to bad rates or bad clients. So always having something in your back pocket is going to serve you exceptionally well. So for a while, when I left retail, I went into banking. I worked at Wells Fargo for a while as a teller, being trained to be like a relationship manager. So one of the banker's little offices. So what I learned there, how to manage money. I learned a lot about how to manage money. That I didn't have that skill. I learned it working in banking, being really professional, but still very like kind with clients, telling people no in very kind ways, dealing with lots of different types of people across different like socioeconomic levels, engaging with them and making them feel comfortable and non-judged and being like relatable to them. That was a skill I learned in banking. Huge valuable skill. So anything you guys are doing now for work or that you want to pursue for work, if you eventually want to land as a makeup artist, any of the jobs you do before then, whether you're working fast food, at a bank, on the line, you're bartending, because I did that for a while. You just think of all of the wonderful skills that are transferable to being a makeup artist. It may not be the physical part of putting makeup on, but the dealing with people part, being able to read people very quickly is really, really important because we're essentially building characters in commercial. That was a transition. So when I left retail in 2008, 2009, which was when like that economic collapse. So like working retail was hard for everybody. I went into banking, and then while in banking, I still had relationships with people from retail cosmetics world, and they had people that were like, as this person, they don't want to come to the mall to get their makeup done. They want to like go to someone or maybe have someone come to them. Like, do you know anybody that can do that? I can, because now that I work at a bank, I have weekends off. So I can do weddings now, or I can do events. And I did that for a while, still did banking. I moved into bartending and I still did makeup on the side. It wasn't until 2013 that I said, okay, I'm going to do this full time. Oh, and my last job before I transitioned full time to a makeup artist was I was working social media support for Samsung Electronics North America. So I worked in tech and in social media. This is in 2009 or 10. So those skills, learning how to work quickly, learning social media, internet etiquette, because now we do everything. We engage with so many people online and social media now. I was ahead of the game learning how to engage with people properly and professionally on social media, learning like what isn't appropriate to show that's going to be client facing, having 2 or 3 separate accounts, my business accounts and my one personal account. Because yes, people need to be comfortable around me, but you still need to maintain that barrier there of like, I'm still a professional. Like, I'm not their friend. I'm a professional. And so you have to maintain that boundary. So yeah, the transition, I think full time for me was 2013. So it's been 10 years, 10, 11 years full time now.
Nice. What is your schedule like?
My schedule. Okay. It varies wildly.
Yeah.
I make my own schedule in the sense of like, if I don't want to take a job, then I just won't take the job, but I'm also saying no to that opportunity and that money.
Right.
But I say no to jobs. Schedule, I keep office hours pretty consistent. So Tuesdays to Thursdays, I try to be in the office at my desk. So I'm doing my expenses. So all of the things that I buy, I have to keep track of so that I can report that at the end of the year when I do my taxes. Sending invoices. I'm not going to get paid if I don't send an invoice telling people how much they need to pay me. So I have to sit down and make invoices. But commercials, like this week I was doing a commercial for Gold Toe and I was in Asheville Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, got back last night. And then, got my kid together for this, came for this, and then I have a job tomorrow. Season for me ends maybe like mid-November. So like December, January, February, I probably won't have any weddings. I might have a few commercials, but that'll be like my downtime. And then come March, April, May, it's like full throttle. They say the freelance industry is what they say feast or famine. Either really, really busy or really, really dead, which is all the more reason why it's so important to like think of yourself like a business, because during those off seasons, that off time, you have to figure out how to either keep income coming in or stretch the income that you've made from that like April to November period. That's the long answer. Short answer, my schedule is bananas, but it's mine. That's the thing. It's my schedule. I can do with it whatever I want to, which makes it, to me, really flexible. But for some people who like a lot of like structure stability, it's not. So for those people, I would say working in a salon might be a better route for you. If you're someone that knows, I do best when I'm showing up at the same time, same day, and I'm doing some of the same processes. Working in a salon or barbershop is probably going to be a better fit for you. Working retail, where your schedule won't be like consistent 9 to 5, so to speak. You'll have your 40 hours, you'll have your paycheck that you know exactly how much you're going to make. For me, I actually do best when things are changing all the time. So my schedule is bonkers.
When did you start stepping into the celebrity world, working more with those kind of clients?
When did I start that? So this area, South Carolina or the Southeast specifically, we don't have a lot of celebrities that like live here. So there's not going to be a ton of celebrity work. We don't have a lot of events, red carpet, movie premieres, etc. So you're not going to see a lot of celebrity work. I department headed my first feature film. Oh my gosh, such a long time ago. When I count the years, I'm like, oh my gosh, was it 13 years ago that I did that? 12 years ago? I department headed a feature film that starred some C, D, E, F, and G list celebrities. So people that you have never, ever heard of that were famous maybe like 30 years ago. They came back to the Carolinas to do like an independent film that had a budget to it.
Okay.
And through that, again, relationships and community. It was a hard shoot and it was a long shoot. Having a good attitude, not letting people walk all over you, not letting people be rude to you or mean to you, but having a good attitude, And being a team player and just coming again prepared and ready to work, I met a second AD who called me up randomly and said, "Hey, you're really good with people. How would you like to come and assist LeBron James in Cleveland?" And I said, "This is a scam." And he said, "It's not. I wanted to call you specifically because I needed somebody who was good with people, who had a good attitude, who was upbeat, a lot of energy, and just could really kind of think 2 and 3 steps ahead." And I was like, well, dang, that sounds like me. So they brought me up to, this was when LeBron came back to Cleveland. And it was a job for Nike. And he brought me up from Greenville, South Carolina to be LeBron James' like personal production assistant. So I didn't do makeup for him, but actually got to spend more time with him and all of the Cavs. So Kyrie Irving was there, Bergeau was there, all the other guys in the Cavs were there. LeBron's chef made dinner for everybody hanging out that day. So I got to eat dinner with them. And then LeBron and the rest of the team were on like this no sugar diet, and the chef made all these wonderful, he made like 4 dozen homemade cookies, and LeBron was like, "I don't want it." So I took them all home. I got to drive LeBron James cookies all the way back down to Greenville and like flex and share LeBron cookies with everybody. It did not help me grow. He's still 6'8". I'm still 4'11". So
But you got LeBron cookies.
I got LeBron cookies. It didn't make me taller, faster, stronger, but it made me cooler. Range can vary. I'll be transparent and I'll just say my range, but I also preface this by saying I work really, really hard. I do this freelance film and television production stuff, but I also do a lot of what I call bougie weddings, and I love them. Sometimes people will do weddings just to make a buck. I love, and I love helping people celebrate, and so I do weddings, so I do really well with those there. I have a reputation amongst like the wedding. Again, I don't advertise for weddings. It's referral only. And I screen all of my clients. So no bridezillas, no momzillas. Everyone's very, very kind and nice. So those also help me a lot. Again, that keeping something in your back pocket. Because with weddings, they book me 18 months out, 12 months out. So I know how much I'm projected to make. If a job comes in, a commercial job, and I'm like, ooh, do I really need to take this? Do I need the money to make my numbers sync up with last year or grow? You know, percentages, profits, you want to see growth. Or am I cool to like not take the job and hang out with my kids this week, which I usually do during the summertime. Salary range. So again, you pay for a lot of this stuff yourself. So when you do your taxes, you'll have your revenue, which is all of the money that you brought in. You'll have your expenses, all of the money that you had to send out. The difference of that is going to be your profit. Profit is what you are taxed on. So profit-wise, when I look at my chart of accounts, I looked at it the other day. Everything altogether that I made in the past 8 months was $157,000. When I take away my expenses, I've probably net about 100,000 of that. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, so my favorite thing to do, what I do is honestly everything. Like I said earlier, this is kind of what I wanted to do. I didn't have the verbiage for it, and I didn't know how to make it happen, but I just knew that if there was a way for me to incorporate all of the random things that I know, all of the random knowledge that I know, because I love information, I love knowledge, the intersections of like history, culture, empowering people, making people feel good and seen, product knowledge, science, and then going new places. I mean, clients pay for me to fly. I was in Vermont. I was in Boston at the end of August. I went to Newport, Rhode Island. I've never been there before, never wanted to go, but a client was like, "We love you. We'll fly you up. We'll put you up." So I got to do things like that. You know, they'll pay for my meals a lot of the time. That's a really great part of my job. Another favorite part is I get to meet the most amazing, inspirational, awesome, like people. Like it is such a privilege and a joy to work with, like, again, President Joe Biden. He's cool and all, but I also got to do makeup for a woman named Cecile Richards, and she was the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood, which, like, if you use those resources and you need those resources, you know how important that is to our health and well-being. So I got to spend time with her and hang out with her all day and just do her makeup. I get to see people, like women who, like me, just worked really hard to get them where they are, and now they're James Stewart Award nominated chefs that used to cook on a grill wherever they could, and now they have a restaurant internationally recognized. Those are the greatest joys of my job. And I think you really have to have a passion for people and caring for people, I think, to do really well with this. Least favorite thing, office work, sitting down at my desk, doing paperwork. It has to be done. Like if I want to be paid, I got to sit down and do those invoices. If I don't want to pay more taxes than I have to, then I got to do my expense reports. I have to get on the call with my bookkeeper. I have to go see my CPA. I have to talk to my attorneys. Like I have to do all of those things. That part's not fun, but I do it. And it's like, it's not something I necessarily hate. I don't get excited about it. Washing my brushes, I wash brushes a lot. It's not fun, but it's part of my job. Getting in the kit with my Q-tip and cleaning and scrubbing everything. It's tedious work. It's not fun, but it's part of my job, the job that I love, so I'm going to do it.
Right.
When you're talking about just makeup specifically, like the actual application of makeup, skincare, taking great care of your skin is the most important thing to like the performance and the wear and the appearance of your makeup. I tell people that all the time. Makeup is not an Instagram filter. Makeup is not plastic surgery, and makeup is not magic. If it were, I would be like a bazillionaire, because I would have cracked the code, right? Of what everybody wants is to slap on makeup in 10 minutes and completely transform.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm not a special effects artist, so I don't think my job is to necessarily transform you. My job is just to take all of the things I see that are already beautiful about you and just like bring them to the surface, just make them more obvious for the camera to pick up. And I really love getting the essence of the person. I talk to every person in the chair, maybe about a good 3-minute minimum, 5 minutes maybe, just to get a feel for them, and then I can kind of work from there. But skincare, that's the short answer. Taking great care of your skin.
Someone asked, can I still go to cosmetology school if I don't pursue the career? So I'm wondering if they mean I just want to go.
I mean, if you want to go to cosmetology school just to go and it's free and you have 1,500 hours of time to spare, sure, like go. You don't necessarily, again, have to do freelance commercial hair and makeup. You don't need a cosmetology license to even work at Sephora, Ulta, a makeup counter. There's some kind of great, in the state of South Carolina with our board, cosmetology and barber board, there's a little bit of kind of like grayish area. Technically, if you're working retail, you're not doing makeup, you're selling a product and the service comes free. So within that gray area, you can do makeup professionally without being licensed.
Right.
For me, I just like to operate above board. So I got my braider's license so that I could at least be licensed. When you're licensed, you have access to all of the professional discounts at all the pro stores, the salon centrics, the Cosmoprops. So that helps when it comes to building your kit, buying your products. But yeah, if you want to do it just for fun, like if you got time, girl, go for it.
Right.
Everybody's journey and walk is going to be really different. That's the first thing. My journey was a bit longer. I was a single parent at a pretty young age too, so I had to figure out ways to kind of practice and pursue in the capacity that my life allowed until I was able to do this full time. We say in the industry, when you begin taking paid clients, you can call yourself a professional.
Right.
But again, that is but paid is subjective. How much? Let's see. So, I mean, there's just so many different ways. I have a little bit of a background in theater, but I just read and studied a lot. I study a lot of art books. I did not go to art school, but I love art. So just going to art museums in my spare time, taking lots of pictures, studying shade and light. That's kind of, you do those things, or you can, like I said, you can go through retail. You can work retail and become a makeup artist that way. You can, well, I would say that's probably going to be the easiest way and the least expensive way, frankly. It's doing like retail.
One person in the chat asked, have you ever worked in a funeral home doing makeup?
No, I haven't. So that's a really interesting question. People ask me that a lot. They'll say, do you do makeup on dead people? And I say no. But those clients don't complain because they're dead. You do have to be, I think it's mortuary sciences in South Carolina, if you want to do makeup on the deceased. Makeup on deceased skin is going to be a lot different than makeup on living skin. When we're living, we have things like body heat, which is going to help spread the product out. The product's going to melt into the skin. We produce sebum, which is that natural oil on our skin. And then we have color because our blood is flowing. That's the color that's in our, like the redness and the life that's in our skin. When someone has passed, they're not producing sebum anymore. They're not, they're not looking like they have like life to their skin. The blood's not flowing, so there's not like rosiness and natural color into the skin. And so you can't use a lot of the same products because they will not perform the same. There are some really wonderful people that went to mortuary science school so that they can do makeup and hairstyling and help dress our dearly departed people. And it's a really important service. Again, honoring people's identity and honoring their humanity is really important when someone's coming to see their loved one that's passed away, that they look like the person they remember. So I don't do makeup on people who have passed because it's just like an entirely different field. It's an entirely different skill. And frankly, because I don't have that skill and training, I would not feel right stepping into that role. I don't feel like I would do the person that I would be doing makeup on. Like I would be doing them a disservice.
How old can you be to start working as a makeup artist?
I think the cosmetology board says 16 years old, 10th grade education. Most makeup counters, retail cosmetics will say 18. Just for like, you have to be old enough to like sign papers, sign employment contracts and stuff. Also, you're going to be dealing with any manner of human. So I think they want you to be a legal adult for liability reasons. For me, I know people ask me sometimes, can I come shadow you? I don't take people to shadow me just because liability is number one. And a lot of times the spaces that we're working in are like so small. There's literally not room for someone to just stand there and watch. They have to have a job. And so because of that, when people come assist me, I say they have to be at least 18 years old. They would be like basically one of my artists. I would be, paying them, subcontracting for them, but they still have to sign. I have NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, so that when we are on a job, we don't take pictures of things that we're not supposed to. We don't take pictures of people. We don't say or post off color things about clients and people online. You might see other people do that, but I don't do that. And you have to work in spaces sometimes where like there's there's like kind of heavy adult content, not anything like vulgar, but like language, experiences, really sad stuff. So I like for my assistants and stuff, they have to be at least 18 years old. I think commercial liability, they need to be at least 18 years old. If you ask the state board, they will say that if you are doing anyone's hair or anyone's makeup in any place, you have to have a cosmetology license or you have to have a barber license. But that's to work in a salon. If you're providing those services in a salon, because that is where the board has jurisdiction, is my understanding. I could be incorrect. You do need to have the licenses to work there. So no, I could not just go into a salon and say, I'm going to do everybody's, well, I could, because I actually have a barber's license, a braider's license. But anyone else coming off the street couldn't just pull up into a salon and say, hey, I want to do makeup here. And the salon says, okay, sure. They have to be licensed if they're going to be working in a salon, because if you're working in a salon, the stylist has to be licensed, but the salon itself has to be licensed to be suitable to provide services to the public. I do on location services, working in film, television, commercial. I don't work in a salon. I go on location. That could be an office, a conference room. They give us something called mohos, where they're like motor homes that have a hair and makeup station set up because we're just driving around cities. So you do, if you want to cut hair, work in a salon. I strongly encourage it. Even if you do want to do what I'm doing, like I said earlier, if I could go back and do it again, I would have gotten my full out 1,500 hour cosmetology license. But at this point in my life and my career, I can't afford to take 9 months off of work. Right. So I got my braider's license through the barber board instead.
Right. And that's one that students can do online.
Online, $75. Right, like I've actually paid for people to take their braider's license because it's $75, and I'm like, if that's all that it's going to take to separate you from like pursuing your career, like I have been so blessed with opportunities, like I will help a couple people out every once and again. Right. But yeah, that braider's license is gonna help with any sort of state stuff. I think with a braider's license, you can braid in a salon. I would confirm that, but you'll be able to braid in a salon if you wanted to do that. But it also helps with this kind of stuff. Yeah. Another note, I do not cut or color hair. Chemically changing the hair, that's a cosmetology license thing. Do I know how to do those things? Do I know the theory and all that stuff? Could I buy the stuff? Sure. But again, that we're like about artistic and personal integrity and self-awareness. I would never offer to do those things because I'm not licensed to do so. And thus, like, you could really hurt somebody.
Right.
So I don't do that at all. Session styling is like dry styling. Like your hair is clean and dry, or if it comes wet, I'm giving you a blowout, but no cutting or coloring.